So it was 1978. Kip Tyndall, his wife and his best friend, had about $40,000 and put it into a solution to help people get organized. And the first container store was built. Fast forward to 2014. Over 80 plus locations, publicly traded company, 6,000 plus employees, 90% of which were previous customers, 70% being women, and 50% more they get paid than any other retail on average. Well, Kip Tyndall, in his book Uncontainable, attributes their great success selling containers to the 7 foundation principles that everyone in the company knows at heart, believes, says, does, and the results follow. 90% of the employees are previous customers. They get paid 50%. Need I say it again? 50% more than any other retailer. Publicly traded company. Because passion before profits, Kip Tyndall attributes to more success. So the question is, what can we learn from the container store? We can learn that everything rises and falls on leadership. And we can learn when a leader is able to transcribe why they started their business clearly and concisely in context so the people can study it, learn it, and be it. Not want to know it, but be it. Profits will follow. Culture will be built. And lives can change. That's the container store. That's conscious capitalism. The Kind Company, State Farm, Walmart, when Walton ran it, Alibaba, they spent 3 months, Alibaba. Jack Ma invested 3 months and who knows how much money in figure out the 9 values that Alibaba stood for. Well, in his book, I remember one of them quite clearly. It was innovation. But it was just that word. Now, if one of his employees asked him, or if he asked his employee, what does innovation mean to you? The question he should ask himself, and we all should, is what is that employee going to say? Is their definition different than his? Well, most likely it is. Because they're drawing from their experiences, gathering up their past and investing into what they believe. So even Alibaba, that spent all that time and money on figuring out their culture, hasn't quite put it into context. So the question is, how well will their cultures scale when Jack Ma is not there to show them by example? I mean, I know when I walk into church every Sunday and read the Bible, there's going to be 10 commandments in there. And whoever wrote that thing, a lot of people say different people have. They put the 10 core philosophies to sum up that giant book. So everyone that ever wants to believe what they believe can. And for thousands of years, priests and pastors and different subsets of that belief have been able to lead others. The question is, why doesn't every company mirror what's obviously worked? Culture matters. Yeah, so to implement culture matters properly, it's almost so simple, it's profound. The title of your company, break it down into words simply, like if it's called, let's use Keller Williams as an example. Keller Williams culture is the W-Y, 4 C's, 2 T's. Now already, that's a lot. Win, win, or no deal. Integrity, do the right thing. Customers always come first. Commitment in all things. Communication, seek first to understand. Creativity, ideas for results. Teamwork, together we achieve more. Trust starts with honesty, and success results through people. I know that because I believed enough to sit down in Starbucks and say that out loud 1,780 times, literally. Because what I say is what I know is what I believe is what I say, and that's what I do, and that's my habit. I built a habit to know it. So over time, if I was working in that organization, I'd probably act like that. However, have they been able to do that? No. Every person I've met with in that company so far, not one person do it. And they had $2 billion in sales in their organization. So I guess really a business is a reflection of who you are, isn't it? The point I would make is, how can you take the word Keller and take all that context in the W-Y, 4 C's, 2 T's and put it clearly and concisely as K-E-L-L-E-R? What words express that of the 7 million in the English language? And what context can you put it in? So the Container Store, their training techniques, they actually invest heavier than most companies in their people. They believe that when you invest in your people, the customer gets a better experience and they want to invest more money. I'll give you an example. The third principle of the 7 foundation principles in their yummy quote unquote culture of Container Store is man in the desert selling. Now, when you combine man in the desert selling and the air of excellence, which is greeting people when they walk in, starting that experience, and when you combine that with man in the desert selling, which is, imagine you're in a desert. What's the first thing you need? Water. You find an oasis and there's a pretty man or woman there and they say, hey, how are you? Now you like them. All right. Now you're listening. And they ask you, when's the last time you've seen your family? Oh, a month ago. Would you like to talk to them? Sure. Here's a phone. Oh, your shirt looks ripped. We have one right here. And with man in the desert selling, that ideology, that belief imparts the action of every person that works for the Container Store is trained to greet people and then ask them questions to solve their problem. And they leave the Container Store having gone in there to buy one thing and leave with 50 things. Now, is that negative? Only if it's not solving their problem. But if you're not telling them what they should buy and you're trained to think man in the desert selling, how can I question them to see what their problem is so I can offer a solution because I know my products, I work here, I love what I do. Well, then isn't that just good business? The customer wins because they solved their problems that they didn't even know they had. The employee wins because they were able to facilitate that. The company wins because they made a profit, and the shareholder wins because the employees know why and how to act in the business. That only happens when you work harder on your people than your profits. And that's why culture matters.